Felicity Yarn Studio channel. My name is Zoe. I am also known as Zoe Nichols on Instagram and Ravelry, and that's KNITCHOLS. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I just have a short little video. I've been thinking about doing these just to change it up a little bit. I know not everybody has like an hour, 45 minutes to spend watching a podcast every week, and I thought this would be a nice way to kind of highlight some of my finished objects so I can go into detail. Also to kind of make the information a little bit easier to find for people. I know if you're knitting something and you're looking for a specific pattern, it's not always easy to sift through a bunch of different podcasts to find like that maybe like 10 minutes of information that you need. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start making some of these little shorter videos, again, to highlight my finished objects at this point is what I'm thinking. Like, I don't think every pair of vanilla socks needs a little 10-minute recap. So I'll still mention all of this on my regular podcast, but also it's gonna be probably another week and a half before I can record another one, and this pattern is being released today, so I thought it would be a good chance to talk with y'all about it. So again, we're here to talk about the Sorrel sweater that I am wearing, and this is a design by Wool and Pine, and that is a design collab between Selena of Dank Fiber and Abby of Abby Knits. I did knit this in some of my own hand-dyed yarn, and if you're not familiar, that is Felicity Yarn Studio on Etsy. I used 3 colors in here. I don't have any in the shop currently, but I am working on dyeing some up to make this available. The first color up here is Sugar Plum Fairy, and I'm probably changing the name of that one so it's less seasonal. The second kind of darker pink is called Bubblegum Grunge, and then this like lavender silver color gray is it's more purple than gray. I'm calling this one Moonbeam. So yeah, I just wanted to go over what my experience was in knitting this pattern and kind of you know, what to expect if you're looking at knitting this. So it is a top-down yoke sweater design with this nice kind of textural stitch pattern on the yoke, and the designers do call this a dip stitch, and that's because you make the stitch by dipping down X number of rows to create the stitch. I'm not going to give too much away here. It is a paid for pattern, and there's a couple other little tricks that go along with it. But yeah, it's pretty fun to knit. It did take me a minute to kind of get into a rhythm with that stitch, but once I kind of figured it out, it wasn't as cumbersome as it was at first. And then the other thing that I thought was well, 2 things I thought was clever about the construction. The first thing is, and mine doesn't quite fit, it's supposed to fit a little bit higher up on the neck. This is supposed to be a little bit higher neckline, and that kind of raises the yoke up. So you have like a twisted rib collar here, and then the short rows to also raise the back of the neckline happen after you do all of the texture, the dip stitch pattern. So that was something new for me, and I thought that was really interesting to put the short rows there. I do think I've heard of that on other patterns. I've just never actually knit something with that as the technique. So it is written as a fade pattern as well. And originally when I signed up to do the test knit, I was only going to do a 1-color version, but I changed my mind and I decided to do a fade as I was casting on. So I started up here with Sugar Plum Fairy, and then actually what made me kind of change my mind was I found some white undyed mohair, and the collar is the matching mohair and sock yarn held together, and then the white mohair starts here. I'm not sure if it's really coming across on screen for you, but then here's where I kind of faded in the matching to the full matching sock yarn and mohair together, and then another fade section, and this is kind of where the bubblegum grunge in full starts, is right around here. So yeah, I did enjoy the fading aspect, and I did play around with fading both just a strand of mohair and like the matching mohair and sock yarn held together. So to get different effects, like especially down here on the sleeves, I played more with alternating the different mohairs just to kind of get a more subtle fade and a quicker transition, since I was getting towards the end of the body and the sleeves there. But I think that it turned out really well. I really like that effect. It's really interesting to see what a strand of mohair does to your base color. So a couple of things about the pattern. It is pretty size inclusive. I believe the bust size goes up to 66 inches. I did knit the size 6, which is a 49.5-inch bust. I was knitting it to get 0 positive ease or 0 ease. But my garment did grow with blocking, as superwash yarn is known to do. I did actually do a gauge swatch, proper gauge swatch in the round, and I got gauge exactly with the suggested needle sizes. I just think that it's, when you're making a garment, that weight tends to pull on it, and I just think things tend to grow more than they do on a 4x4 swatch. So yeah, this is a little bit large, and that's okay. I'd rather have a slightly oversized garment than a slightly undersized one, like the way my dark water turned out. So the way that the test pattern was written that we received, it did mention that you should try on your yoke multiple times to make sure that it is kind of hitting you where you want it to, and where the sleeve separation is going to hit where you want to. I probably could have left out 1 or 2 of the chart repeats, but I did write it as written when it was the way that it was given to me. So it does come down a little bit low for the sleeve separation, but I don't hate it. I think it looks all right. I think that there was some adjustments made to that part of the pattern for the final version. And then the other kind of thing that ties in with that is the sleeve decreases. The instructions leave it, I won't say open-ended, but it's a little bit open to make things customizable for yourself and for whatever fit that you're looking for. Like I only wound up doing 3 sleeve decreases, and I probably could have done more to have a little bit more of a fitted sleeve. I did wind up playing yarn chicken at the end with this moonbeam. And if I had made a little bit more fitted of a sleeve, I probably wouldn't have had that problem. Because I had very few leftovers when I was done with this. But that being said, I don't mind the big open sleeves, especially with the mohair. It's very insulated. It's a very warm garment. It's very cozy. The only downside is it's been really warm here the last few days, like in the 60s and 70s, and I popped outside to take some pictures and I was about to die. Thankfully, we do have a cold front moving in, so it'll be really wonderful for the next month or 2 when we typically get our coldest times of the year. So yeah, if you were to knit this pattern, I would highly suggest trying it on frequently. I would suggest that for almost any garment though, just to make sure that you're getting a good fit for yourself. I really feel like if you are knitting or really making anything by hand for yourself, the whole benefit is that you can custom it and tailor it to fit your body. And of course, everybody has a different body. So yeah, that's just one of the benefits of making your own clothing. So I guess the way that it's kind of written with the yoke and the sleeves, the designers are kind of letting you decide at what point is this deep enough, at what point do you want your sleeve decreases to start at, and I kind of appreciate that from a design standpoint. I don't know, I think it's kind of nice when designers let you kind of choose your own adventure. Whereas I know there are some people out there who really want to have step-by-step, very clear, direct directions from the redundancy department of redundancy. But anyway, if you are, I think this is okay pattern for an adventurous beginner, or I would even put it in the intermediate category, just because the dip stitch, you have to be able to read your stitches and know where you're going with those. The other thing was, it did kind of feel like a little bit of a slog until you got to the point where you flip it inside out, and you knit instead of purl, because this is all purling until you flip it all inside out, because it is reverse stockinette on the outside of the sweater. So yeah, overall though, it was a very clear pattern. Again, the parts where you are supposed to kind of fit it for yourself are still clear, and the designers were always in touch, and you know, if we had any questions or any feedback, I feel like based off of my experience with them that they will be able to give you pretty good pattern support. So I recommend this pattern. I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to knitting a few more garments this year. I really wear a lot of the ones that I've already made. Again, I just need the weather to cooperate so I can get a little bit more wear out of this one. I think that's everything. Again, I don't want to keep this video too long because the whole point is to make it kind of short and digestible, and just kind of be a resource out there for people who are looking to knit this pattern. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment box below. Let me know if you do plan on knitting this sweater. I'm following the hashtag on Instagram, so I would love to see any of y'all's projects that you start. Yeah, I think that this is a great sweater. It's a great alternative to all of the like colorwork sweaters that are really popular right now. If you still want a top-down yoke sweater that is not, or that has a little bit of interest but isn't super fussy or anything like that. So let me know what y'all think about this video format, and if this is something that you're interested in seeing more of. Thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, subscribing. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in a bit. Happy knitting!